Alright, my loves, so just like the title said, I'm going to be drawing my latest, quite frightening, Scary Fae encounter. This wasn't an encounter that terrified me. I didn't like scream or freak out. And toward the end of it, I had kind of calmed down and was just trying to relax myself, but initially it was scary. So to start, this was probably around 3 a.m. I have this habit of waking up at 3 a.m. and just like eyes open, boom, just awake for no reason. And I was laying in bed and I just saw these two figures at the foot of the bed. And, initially I like jolted, what the heck is that? And I just kind of froze. And then my second thought was, okay, check for cats. Check and see where the cats are. So I looked around the room just to kind of pinpoint all of the cats that were in there and make sure that I could see that they were cats. And my eyes were still adjusting to the dark at this point, but I recognized where the cats were in the room, and then I looked back to see these two figures still standing there. Now, usually when I have an encounter like this at night or in the middle of the night, it doesn't last long enough for me to look around the room and then look back and they're still there. So yeah, I was pretty freaked out, and just their faces were just, oh man, well, you'll see. They just had these eyes that were so bright in their faces because they were both pure black, like inky black, like dark, charred leathery looking skin, but also very furry. The one on the right was very furry, which made me think, okay, that has to be a cat at first, but it wasn't. As I continued looking, it definitely was not a cat. And the one on the left was, you could see more skin, kind of like a monkey or an ape, where you could see that they had skin on their chest and hands and their arms, but they were covered also in like a thick fur, like thick hair, going down the backs of their arms and shoulders, and their face wasn't furry, just like fur on the sides and by the ears and stuff. The one on the right was just covered in fur, just completely fur, except for the eyes and mouth. And as you can see, the mouths were just so wide and they were grinning so hard, and their teeth were jagged, and they were just staring at me. Both of them just staring at me with the most intense stare. The one on the left had short, pointy ears, like human-like ears that were just pointed, but the one on the right had these tufty ears, kind of like the top of an owl's head, how it just has 2 points, like 2 peaks, and it was just like fur peaks, which is why I kept thinking it was a cat, but it clearly was not. At this point, Yule was coming over, and so I didn't want him to see the faces, so I put seashells over the faces because I didn't want him to get freaked out, because he for sure would. The thing about them that just stood out so much was that I could see their eyes and mouths so clearly. They were so white, it was almost like they were glowing white, and it was just the most eerie feeling. And I tried not to freak out. I kept laying there. I was thinking, should I wake up my husband? Should I even move? It definitely wasn't sleep paralysis. I could move. I was just kind of in shock for a little bit. Once I calmed myself down, I realized they weren't really menacing. They weren't like looking scary, like, even though their faces are scary. I didn't get a feeling of hostility. It was as if they were waiting for something, as if they were waiting for me to do something, waiting for me to perform something. And I had a feeling that they were waiting for different parts of my dreams, that they were there kind of watching and like waiting and like feeding off of different parts of my dreams. They were like expectant, and they're looking at me as almost to say, like, go to sleep again, come on, keep doing it, we need this, keep doing it. And they had their hands on the bed, and they were just like kind of resting their hands there as if they couldn't wait, they couldn't wait for me to continue dreaming so they could do whatever it was that they were doing. And I can't remember my dream that night. It was just such a bummer. I don't think it was anything particularly scary, but it was just so interesting to see them staring at me like that with such an expectant glare. Once I kind of calmed down, I recognized that the other things that I could see in the room were kind of like tentacles just floating around the entire upper space of the room. It seems like that would be hard to miss, but when you see two figures at the foot of your bed, that's the first thing I saw, the first thing I noticed. And the tentacles and like the other things that were kind of floating in the air, I'm used to seeing, and they don't have faces or they don't have any kind of like, they're kind of benign. So I've noticed them before, and I kind of write them off as like eyes wiggles. I don't know. I mean, the ceiling was full of them, but the two figures at the foot of the bed were much more like they were interacting with me, like they were interacting with me by staring at me, and so they caught my full attention. The tentacles, I mean, there are like hundreds of them just swirling overhead. Like I didn't even draw them the way they really were, and that night they were kind of just like swirling all around, swirling overhead, and just like hundreds of like noodles in the sky, just like dark noodles. And it was just it was shocking that I didn't notice it at first, but like I said before, I'm kind of used to seeing that sort of thing. But yeah, it was just a really intense sort of experience. It probably lasted for like 45 seconds in total. So I had enough time to freak out and calm myself down and assess the situation and get a really good look at their faces and their bodies. And something else that was interesting is that usually when I have an experience like this, it doesn't last this long. And usually I also sort of stare at whatever it is I'm looking at until it fades away, and then it's gone, and then I go back to sleep. However, this time I looked at them and I waited for them to fade away, and they did not. And instead, I just kind of closed my eyes and went back to sleep with them still there, which is highly uncommon. I don't think that's ever happened before. Experiences like this are one of the reasons why I talk about how different the Fae are, and how different their behaviors are, and how different they look from what we would imagine they would, or from us in general, because they don't always look cute and like sweet and fun and have like little wings and cherubic faces and stuff like that. Sometimes to us they would look scary. They would look like something that someone would call a demon, and that's to me probably where the idea of demons came from. If I'm seeing something that was frightening looking to you but may not actually be menacing or scary, it just kind of looks creepy. Not every animal is cute. Not every puppy is cute. Some animals have strange looking, terrifying teeth, and some animals just look creepy, And I think that it's the same for people. Some people just have a very different kind of bone structure, and they have a different look, and the Fae are the same way. It doesn't mean that they're evil. It just means that they look different. And even their behaviors, their behaviors are different because they are not human. So standing at the foot of someone's bed, drinking in their nightmares, I mean, that sounds terrifying, but to them, it's just, that's what they do, So, it was scary, it wasn't scary the whole time, like I said, but at first, man, I felt like every one of my organs just stopped working. And I was just frozen. Not sleep paralysis frozen. Just like, what should I do? Should I wake up Jody? Should I just stay still? Should I do what? I don't know. But please share your scary fairy encounters in the comment section. Let me check them out. I promise to do more like kind, sweet encounters that I've had. I want to do a video that just talks about like all the nice experience that I've had, because it has been requested. People want to show their children a bit about the Fae world, which I would do. Of course, with, you know, a word of caution at the beginning as well. There are loads of really cute, sweet fairy videos on YouTube, you know what I mean? If you want to show your kids something like that to kind of give them an idea of a type of experience that they could have, or just a type of experience that other people have. There are loads of them. But yeah, this was one of my latest experiences, and it was just a little frightening, you know. It didn't end up frightening, but it was frightening at first. It's just how it is, you know. But I hope you all have a beautiful evening, and please share any of your stories in the comment section. Like I said, I love reading them, and have a beautiful, magical Wednesday night.